I want to play my Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s. And we're going to find out if it's any good. And this video isn't like a whole bunch of other videos out there where it's 7 minutes of talking and only a minute worth of playing. We're definitely going to play this. There's also a whole bunch of videos on this channel about this guitar, so if you are curious, take a look. And as always, the signal chain is listed in the description down below, along with the chapter markers, so if you want to, hear certain amps and stuff like that, you can do that. That's enough talking. Let's get after it. So you can't do a review on YouTube nowadays without talking about the specs, so I'll try and quickly go over that for you. So we're looking at a Les Paul here. So we have a slab of mahogany, which has no weight relief, and a carved maple top on top that happens to be bound. The neck is mahogany. It also has the 60s slim taper, so that's just a little thicker than the regular slim taper. The fingerboard is rosewood with the trapezoid inlays, and the fingerboard is also bound. The headstock has the inlaid Gibson logo with the silk screened Les Paul model logo. We have two truss rod covers. We have the one that's a standard, and then we have the blank. As far as tuners, we have Grover Rotomatics. For potentiometers, we have hand-wired CTS pots, 2-volume, 2-tone. No push-pulls whatsoever, but we do have orange drop capacitors. 3-way toggle switch. Pickup-wise, we have the 60s burst buckers, which are also, they used to be called the 61R and 61T. And then we have an ABR1 bridge with a stop bar. That's enough talking for now. Let's hear 5 more sound samples. Now this is the internet and I don't want to make people cry, and they will if you don't do the next part here. So here is this guitar in clean with the bridge, the middle, and then the neck position. To be very honest, I've always found a little more benefit when it comes to hearing a bit of light drive with those pickup positions. So let's listen to that. We did talk about the potentiometers there, so let's go ahead and wiggle some knobs and hear how they sound. Now, one thing I neglected to do in my standard 50s video was do a direct comparison between both of these guitars. Just because pickup-wise things are different, neck-wise things are different, and tuner-wise things are different. But let's go ahead and just do a very simple bridge, middle, and then neck comparison between both of these guitars. Alright, so now that we've heard all of the different sound samples, and of course that quick comparison between the 60s and the 50s, you know, you've had a chance to hear whether, through YouTube's compression and stuff like that, whether you think this is a good guitar sound-wise. I can't really convey feel to you and how you might think this feels, because everyone's preferences are different, whether you like thin necks, thick necks, heavy guitars, light guitars, different things like that. So at this point, I do like to talk about whether I think this is a good guitar or not. I mean, that's why I call my reviews, is it any good? So, surprise, surprise, I've owned this for just about 3 years now, and I think it's a fantastic guitar. Personally, to me, when it comes to Les Pauls, I much prefer the heavier guitars over the lighter guitars. So when it comes to weight relief, I don't enjoy weight relieved Les Pauls as much as I do the non-weight relieved. I do think there's a lot of benefit in the 9-hole weight relief because it does retain a lot of that really solid feel with a little more emphasis on presence over resonance with the weight relieved. And as far as necks, the 60s profile here, which is the slim taper, but it's just a little different. It's a little thicker. I do find a little bit more benefit. I don't really want to say that it's its own profile, even though it is. So I still consider this just a slim taper neck. But it is rather comfortable, at least to me. And the Grovers here, they are fantastic guitars. I know a lot of people out there do prefer locking tuners, and that means, if you want to grab some Grover Roto grips, which are easy to come by, they're a very quick and inexpensive upgrade. But one thing I've found in recent years is that there's definitely a different vibration when you bring locking tuners into play. For some reason, I find that, especially on Gibsons and Fenders, when you're putting in locking tuners, it just seems that some of the strings feel a little more dull. I could be absolutely crazy, but without locking tuners, you get a little more bite, or at least I feel you get a little more bite in your playing. Feel-wise, not sound-wise. And the 61R and the 61T here, or sorry, the 60s burst buckers, they're definitely a lot hotter than the burst buckers that are on the 50s. So if you're looking for a hotter pickup, for whatever reason, you definitely want to look at the 60s burst buckers rather than the burst buckers that are on the 50s. But I prefer having a little bit less of a hotter pickup, especially for metal and stuff like that. I just find you have that opportunity to dial in the amp a little better. The orange drop capacitors here, they're great capacitors. A lot of people just don't understand that the only way that the capacitor is actually going to come into the signal path here is if you're dialing back your tone. So for me, one trick that I've always done is to pop the guitar in the middle position and start dialing back the volume and the tone on the neck. And that a lot of times lead-wise will kind of help things come into play. Like it helped me get a different sound for a lead tone. A lot of the times when unless I'm using a wah, a lot of times I find that having just the neck or just the bridge don't really work for me. So I'll pop it in that middle position and then I'll start playing around with the tone and the volume levels on the neck pickup. So that starts to bring the capacitor into play because I'm messing with the tone. Also, in the neck position, using that tone, you can get some really buttery leads and stuff like that. And as well, if you're trying to play what I like to call fake jazz chords, because I'm not a jazz player, but I'll start using some jazz chords and think I'm really fancy. That's really when I find that I'm going to be playing around with the tone controls on the neck pickup. I very rarely will play with the tone on the bridge pickup, and I think that's just something that I'm personally lacking. And this guitar here is great for playing leads. It's also great for playing rhythms, but I do find that there's a little more benefit to the non-weight relieved Les Pauls when it comes to leads over the weight relieved. I mean, rhythm-wise, I definitely feel that as well, but I just find that the edge is taken off when it comes to playing leads, and I think that's just because of the non-weight relief, because it adds a little more presence to your playing and takes away a lot of that resonance. When I'm saying presence and resonance, I'm saying that's what you feel when you're playing it, rather than what is totally conveyed over like the overall tone and sound and stuff like that. There's definitely a difference between what the audience hears, which I really don't care for, and what the guitarist playing actually feels and hears. There's a lot more benefit there, because you're going to get definitely a better performance out of the guitar player if they like the guitar a lot more. So that's all I have to say here. I don't want to yammer on too much. It's kind of hard not to when people want to hear your opinion on the guitar. But yeah, I love the standard 60s. Not as much as my standard 50s. I do really prefer that fatter neck on the 50s over the slim taper or the 60s profile on the standard 60s. But that's not to discount this guitar at all. It is amazing. And even with the price of it, it's should be a lot cheaper, but I do find that it is worth the money that I've bought for it. Thanks for watching.